when we talk about secular humanist people, they don't depend in their way of life, they don't depend on God.
This is Faith Complex, a conversation about religion, politics, and art, with your host, Jacques Berlinerblau.
Hello, my name is Jacques Berlinerblau of Georgetown University, and you're watching Faith Complex. Joining us today is Rabbi Sivan Maas. She is Israel's first ordained secular humanistic rabbi. Rabbi Maas, welcome to Faith Complex.
Thank you.
All right, so I sense there's a lot of confusion around the very term secular humanistic Judaism. What is secular humanistic Judaism?
Basically, it's authentic Judaism. It's not the only authentic Judaism, but it is authentic Judaism based on humanistic values, looking at Judaism not as merely as a religion, but as a culture. I don't think that the framework is different. I think that the content is different. I think that looking at people as responsible and accountable to whatever they do, rather than relying on a supreme power.
So the oft-heard accusation or statement that secular humanistic Judaism is Judaism without God, do you think that's accurate, or that just completely misses the point, and that's not really what secular humanistic Judaism is about?
I think it's missing the point because I don't think that people start to think, who is God or what is God? But like Echad Ha'am said, it doesn't really matter if Moses existed or not, or it doesn't really matter if God exists or not. They exist in our culture. Maybe the issue may be different about depending on God. I don't think that when we talk about secular humanist people, they don't depend in their way of life. They don't depend on God. But certainly the option of being agnostic or pantheistic is certainly an option.
And how many members do you have in Israel and then in the United States?
Well, in the United States, the survey is some tens of thousands. I think it's between 50,000 or 60,000 today. And many of us give service to people who want to have weddings, bar mitzvahs, etc., but are not congregated in congregations. So it's almost impossible for me to count. We give services to thousands and thousands of people, but not membership in congregations.
Now, in Israel, Rabbi, you've often found yourself caught in the polemical crosshairs. Part of that having to do with the fact that you're secular, that you're a woman, and that you're a rabbi. What is the typical assault on you and your movement in Israel that you seem to encounter frequently?
Usually we are embraced by people who see that we care deeply about the future of the Jewish people and the future of Israel as a Jewish land. But I think that many people in the ultra-Orthodox world or the ultra-Orthodox establishment do not look to see what secular people are actually doing spiritually. They think probably it's insignificant or irrelevant or maybe not even Jewish. So I don't encounter much of that, but we have found ourselves very much engaged in dialogue with all streams of Judaism in Israel.
Rabbi, what would, let's say, a conservative rabbi in Israel do that you wouldn't do?
I would rather try to think, what would I do that I think is very important and maybe others don't do? For example, I think it's very important to allow anybody who wants to get married and create a home, a Jewish home, to do that. And it doesn't matter if it's a same-sex marriage or if it's a partnership which is comprised of people who weren't brought up as Jews or maybe didn't convert to be Jewish. Therefore, I think that what I need to do as an educator is to give them the kind of background and maybe even to excite them about what it means to be Jewish, but eventually to empower them to choose. Because I think that's what Judaism really is.
When you say that's what Judaism really is, you mean to say that Judaism really is?
Inclusive.
And from where you're standing, is the future of secular humanistic Judaism in Israel very bright?
I think it must be. And the reason I think it must be is twofold. One is I think that this is the only way of living a life in a country like Israel, which is inclusive, which says if we're cultural Judaism, then any way you want to be Jewish is part of this great puzzle. The other issue is not only Jewish. Israel as a country must be able to embrace different cultures, Muslim cultures, Christian cultures, and if our basis is culture, and if our basis is humanistic, we can create a wonderful dialogue, and maybe the only dialogue which will finally end war.
Rabbi Sivan Maas, Israel's first ordained secular humanistic rabbi, thank you so much for coming to Faith Complex today.
Thank you for having me.